Every morning, the first words you speak to yourself set the rhythm of your day. They are quieter than the world's demands, yet more powerful than any applause or criticism you will ever hear. Confidence does not begin with recognition from others. It begins with the language you choose for yourself. The sentences you whisper in your own ear about your strength, your worth, your courage are the seeds that grow into the life you are meant to live. Today, we will explore the words that do more than inspire. They build, shape, and armor the very heart of who you are. There is a quiet power in saying to yourself, I am capable of more than I imagine. It is more than just a phrase. It is a declaration, a promise, and sometimes a challenge all at once. Too often, we measure our abilities against yesterday's limitations or the expectations of others, forgetting that our potential is not a finite resource. It is a river that flows beyond what we can see, carrying strength, courage, and resilience in ways we do not yet understand. By speaking these words daily, you remind yourself that you are not defined by what you have done so far, but by what you are still capable of achieving. Life has a way of convincing us that our reach is limited, that our dreams are too big, or that our energy is not enough. When you hear these doubts, it is easy to believe them and shrink back into what feels safe and familiar. But safety does not grow confidence. Safety does not teach you how strong you are, how creative, how resilient, how endlessly capable. Every time you repeat, I am capable of more than I imagine, you are planting a seed of courage that challenges fear, hesitation, and self-doubt. Being capable does not always mean accomplishing monumental feats in a single day. Often, it is the small acts of perseverance, the quiet decisions to move forward, and the willingness to try again that prove your capacity. It is waking up when yesterday left you exhausted. It is speaking your truth when silence would be easier. It is standing for yourself when the world whispers that you should settle. Each of these moments is a measure of your ability to rise, and each is a reminder that your imagination is only a shadow of what you can truly achieve. Believing in your capabilities also means trusting yourself even when others doubt you. There will always be voices, some loud, some quiet, that question your choices, your dreams, and your worth. Those voices can shake your confidence if you allow them to. But the words you speak to yourself daily become a shield against those doubts. They remind you that your capacity does not depend on permission or approval. It depends on your belief in yourself and your willingness to act despite uncertainty. The beauty of recognizing your capability is that it opens doors within you that you never knew existed. You begin to see opportunities instead of obstacles, solutions instead of problems, and strength instead of weakness. By affirming your potential each day, you invite your mind and spirit to rise to challenges you might once have considered impossible. You give yourself the courage to explore, create, and grow in ways that honor the depth of your talent and the resilience of your heart. So tell yourself this every morning: I am capable of more than I imagine. Let it echo in your mind, let it settle in your heart, and let it guide your actions. Because confidence is not a feeling that arrives from outside. It is a practice that begins in the words you choose to speak to yourself. And when you speak with conviction, you awaken a power within that is limitless, unwavering, and waiting to carry you far beyond what you thought possible. There is a quiet strength in saying to yourself, I deserve respect and kindness. It is a simple sentence, yet it carries a weight that can transform the way you walk through the world. Too often, we allow the standards, opinions, or expectations of others to define how we are treated. We tolerate harsh words, dismissive gestures, or impatience, believing that we must earn consideration or that it is a privilege, not a right, to be treated well. But the truth is, respect and kindness are not rewards. They are your due. They are the baseline for how you engage with yourself and others, and they form the foundation of unshakable confidence. To tell yourself that you deserve respect is to recognize that your presence matters. It is to honor your time, your boundaries, and your voice. When you act with self-respect, you no longer allow behavior that diminishes you to pass unnoticed. You do not excuse mistreatment, and you do not shrink to make someone else comfortable. Confidence grows when your worth is non-negotiable, when you accept that your dignity is not contingent on another's mood or approval. Each time you affirm this truth, you reinforce a line that no one can cross without your acknowledgement. Kindness toward yourself is equally vital. We often extend compassion to everyone else while remaining harsh and critical toward ourselves. Every mistake is magnified, every flaw dissected, and every setback interpreted as proof of inadequacy. Yet self-kindness is not indulgence, it is recognition of your humanity. It allows you to forgive yourself, to learn without judgment, and to take risks without fearing permanent failure. By speaking to yourself with gentleness and understanding, you create a foundation from which confidence can flourish, because you know you are supported from within, even when the world is not. When you affirm that you deserve respect and kindness, you also redefine how you interact with others. People reflect back the way you treat yourself. If you carry yourself with self-assurance and demand the respect you are owed, you naturally attract relationships and opportunities that honor your value. You stop accepting less than you deserve, not out of pride, but out of understanding. The world does not need to convince you of your worth. You already know it. There will be times when it is tempting to doubt this truth. You may face criticism, rejection, or harsh judgment that challenges your belief in your own dignity. These moments test the strength of your daily affirmations, yet the very act of repeating them to yourself every day becomes a practice of resilience. You are training your mind and heart to recognize your value regardless of external validation. That recognition becomes a quiet confidence, a steady force that does not waver when circumstances are difficult. So speak these words daily. I deserve respect and kindness. Let them settle into your thoughts, shape your decisions, and guide your interactions. Know that honoring yourself is not arrogance, it is truth. When you internalize this affirmation, you do more than protect your own well-being. You build a foundation for lasting confidence, inner peace, and a life where your worth is never questioned and your heart is always treated with care. There will be moments in life when you feel as though the ground has opened beneath your feet, when every step forward seems impossible, and when the weight of disappointment presses down so heavily that you wonder if you will ever rise again. Falling is inevitable. It is part of being human. What defines us is not the fall itself, but the choice to lift ourselves afterward, to stand even when our legs tremble and our hearts ache. Each rise after a fall strengthens the quiet, unshakable belief that you are capable of enduring, of learning, and of moving forward. Falling often feels like failure, but it is not the end of your story, it is a chapter. Life teaches through struggle, through mistakes, and through the moments that test our patience, courage, and strength. When you stumble, it is not a signal that you are weak. It is an opportunity to discover how resilient you truly are. Every time you rise after difficulty, you prove to yourself that no challenge is permanent, no obstacle insurmountable, and no doubt invincible. Rising is an act of courage, even when no one is watching, because it requires confronting fear and choosing hope over despair. Resilience grows quietly in the spaces between falls. It is built in the days you wake up after disappointment, in the hours you dedicate to trying again, and in the determination to continue when the world seems to have turned against you. Each rise becomes evidence of your inner strength, a reminder that you have survived before and that you can survive again. The memory of past recoveries becomes a tool you carry with you, a proof that you are stronger than you sometimes believe. Falling also teaches humility. It reminds you that you are human, that mistakes are inevitable, and that perfection is an illusion. When you embrace the lessons embedded in failure, you grow in wisdom and clarity. You begin to understand that rising is not only about returning to where you were, but about moving forward with greater insight, compassion, and awareness. Each ascent builds confidence because it is grounded in lived experience, in the proof of survival, in the knowledge that you can withstand hardship and emerge with dignity. The act of rising is contagious. When others witness your courage, they are inspired to believe in their own strength. Your resilience becomes a light that guides not only your own path, but the paths of those who look to you for hope. By facing life's falls with determination and grace, you show the world and yourself that setbacks do not define your journey. Your response to them does. So remind yourself every day, I will rise after every fall. Let this affirmation settle into your spirit, guiding your steps through hardship, giving courage when fear rises, and instilling confidence when doubt creeps in. Know that each time you rise, you are proving to yourself that strength, perseverance, and resilience are not just ideals. They are the essence of who you are. And in rising, you reclaim your power, your purpose, and the unshakable belief that you can endure anything life places before you. Trusting yourself begins with a simple yet profound statement. I trust my own decisions. It may feel easier to look for guidance, approval, or validation from others, but confidence is not built in the hands of someone else. It grows quietly, firmly, in the space where you honor your own judgment, where you choose to believe that your mind, heart, and experience are enough to guide you forward. Every decision, no matter how small, becomes a stepping stone in the architecture of self-trust. There are moments when choices seem unclear, when possibilities stretch endlessly, and fear whispers that you might choose wrong. It is in these moments that trusting yourself becomes a daily practice, a commitment to honor your own voice above the clamor of doubt and opinion. You may hesitate, stumble, or second guess, but even then, the act of acknowledging that you alone are capable of deciding is an act of courage. Self-trust is cultivated not in perfection, but in repeated engagement with life's uncertainties. Listening to yourself requires patience. It requires slowing down enough to hear what you truly want, what aligns with your values, and what resonates with the rhythm of your heart. Many people abandon their own instincts because the world demands speed, certainty, or conformity. Yet your intuition is a compass, quietly calibrated by experience, emotion, and wisdom. When you honor it, when you give weight to your own thoughts and feelings, confidence grows naturally because you begin to see that your guidance is reliable. Mistakes will come, and they are not evidence that your trust is misplaced. On the contrary, mistakes are lessons disguised as setbacks. Each one teaches you discernment, humility, and clarity. The more you navigate life's challenges and learn from the outcomes of your choices, the more your inner voice gains authority. Self-trust is reinforced in these moments because you discover that even when things do not unfold as expected, you have the capacity to adjust, respond, and continue forward with integrity. Trusting your own decisions also shapes the way others perceive you. When you approach life with confidence in your judgment, your energy signals certainty, calm, and purpose. You stop relying on constant reassurance and instead carry yourself with a quiet strength that attracts respect. People may question your choices, but the internal validation you cultivate shields you from the need for approval. This is where true confidence begins, in knowing that you are competent to navigate your own path and that the voice you hear most clearly, the one that guides your actions, comes from within. So repeat this to yourself every day. I trust my own decisions. Let it settle deep in your mind and heart. Let it guide the way you approach opportunities, challenges, and relationships. Even when uncertainty arises, even when the path is unclear, remember that trusting yourself is not arrogance, it is self-respect. By honoring your judgment, you build a foundation of confidence that no external circumstance can shake. And in that trust, you discover a freedom, a power, and a clarity that allows you to move through life boldly, authentically, and unwaveringly. There is a quiet magic in embracing your uniqueness, in allowing yourself to exist fully as the person you were born to be. Too often, the world pressures us to conform, to fit into molds that were never meant for our shape, to silence the qualities that make us different so that we might feel accepted. But confidence does not grow from blending in. It blooms when you honor the parts of yourself that are unmistakably, unapologetically you. Each time you recognize your individuality, you plant a seed of self-assurance that no outside opinion can uproot. Your uniqueness is not just your appearance, your talents, or your accomplishments. It is the combination of your thoughts, experiences, values, and emotions that creates a perspective only you can offer. When you embrace this, you stop measuring yourself against others. You stop trying to mimic someone else's path or success. Instead, you begin to walk your own journey with a sense of pride and purpose. Confidence grows naturally when you recognize that the world needs the originality only you can bring. It can be challenging to stand in your individuality, especially when others react with skepticism, envy, or criticism. People are often uncomfortable with someone who is fully themselves because it reflects their own hesitation to embrace their uniqueness. But choosing to honor who you are despite their discomfort is a radical act of courage. It is a daily affirmation that you will not shrink to make anyone else comfortable. It is a declaration that your identity, your voice, your presence is valid simply because it exists. Embracing your uniqueness also means embracing your imperfections. The qualities that set you apart may feel like vulnerabilities at first, but they are also sources of strength. Your quirks, your passions, your idiosyncrasies, they are all threads in the fabric of your individuality. By owning them, you transform what once felt like insecurity into confidence. You learn to walk through the world unafraid, not needing constant approval or validation, because you are grounded in the truth of who you are. When you honor your individuality, you open doors to authentic connections and opportunities. People are drawn to those who are unapologetically themselves because authenticity resonates on a level that pretense cannot reach. By embracing your uniqueness, you inspire others to embrace theirs. You create spaces where creativity, courage, and innovation can thrive because you no longer fear standing out. You have learned that standing out is a sign that you are fully alive. So tell yourself every day, I embrace my uniqueness. Let it remind you that your voice, your presence, and your perspective matter. Let it give you the courage to stand tall in rooms where conformity whispers for you to shrink. Let it fuel a confidence that is not borrowed from others, but built from the truth of your individuality. By claiming your uniqueness, you not only empower yourself, you show the world the value of being fully, authentically, and bravely you. Fear of judgment is one of the quietest chains we carry, and yet it can be the heaviest. Every day we move through life imagining what others think of us, how they might perceive our choices, our words, or even our presence. That imagined scrutiny can shape our decisions, limit our dreams, and silence the truest expressions of who we are. But the moment you decide to release that fear, you give yourself freedom. You step out of the shadows of doubt and into the light of courage, and you discover a power that has been inside you all along. Fear of judgment often disguises itself as caution, humility, or prudence. It whispers that conformity is safer than authenticity, that approval is worth more than self-expression, that the cost of failure is too high. And for a time, listening to that voice feels necessary. It keeps us careful, controlled, and unseen. But care cannot replace courage, and control cannot replace confidence. The longer we allow judgment to dictate our lives, the smaller our world becomes, and the quieter our potential remains. Releasing fear of judgment begins with recognition. You must notice when your actions, your words, or your dreams are being shaped by worry about what others will think. It may appear in hesitations, in self-editing, in avoidance of opportunities, or in the quiet denial of your own desires. When you name it, you take the first step toward dismantling it. Awareness is the key that unlocks the door from self-imposed limitation into liberation. Once you recognize the fear, you practice courage in small doses. Speaking your mind, pursuing a passion, or expressing an opinion that differs from those around you, even in subtle ways, is a rehearsal for larger acts of bravery. Each time you act, despite the fear of judgment, it grows weaker. You begin to see that the world is far less focused on your shortcomings than your mind imagined, and far more accepting than you believed. In learning to act anyway, you discover that your life belongs to you first, not to anyone else's approval. Freedom from judgment also requires compassion for yourself. You will stumble, make mistakes, and face criticism. Releasing fear does not mean you will never be evaluated or that others will always agree with you. It means you no longer let their opinions define your worth or dictate your choices. You build resilience by understanding that self-worth comes from within, and that courage is cultivated when you honor your truth regardless of response. When you consistently release fear of judgment, you unlock creativity, confidence, and authenticity. You start to speak, act, and dream in alignment with your values rather than external expectations. You realize that the world does not limit your greatness. It is your own fear that once did. And in this liberation, you discover the profound joy of living fully, boldly, and unapologetically. So remind yourself every day, I release fear of judgment. Let it dissolve the invisible chains that have held you back. Let it guide you toward boldness in thought, speech, and action. Let it build a confidence rooted not in the approval of others, but in the unwavering recognition that your life belongs to you, and that the courage to live it freely is already within you. There is a quiet power in choosing to speak your truth boldly. So often, we silence ourselves to avoid conflict, to avoid disappointment, or to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold the fullness of who we are. But every time you hold back what you truly feel, every time you soften your voice to please someone else, a part of your confidence shrinks. Speaking your truth is not just about sharing opinions. It is about honoring your own existence, your own perspective, and your own boundaries. It is a declaration that your voice matters, that your experiences matter, and that your presence deserves to be recognized exactly as it is. Bold truth-telling begins with honesty to yourself. Before the world can hear your words, you must first understand what is real for you. This means acknowledging your feelings, desires, and convictions without judgment. It means confronting the discomfort of your own vulnerability and deciding that what you feel and think is worthy of expression. Confidence grows when you recognize that your perspective is valid, that your insights are important, and that you do not need to apologize for what is true for you. Speaking boldly also requires courage. The world has a way of responding with resistance when someone steps outside of the expected narrative. People may challenge you, dismiss you, or even attempt to intimidate you. And yet, each time you speak anyway, you strengthen the bridge between your inner truth and your outward actions. Boldness is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite fear, to value integrity over approval, and to carry your words with clarity and composure. When you commit to expressing yourself fully, your words begin to shape your presence. How you carry yourself changes because your actions align with your convictions. You walk taller, move with purpose, and inhabit your space differently. Confidence is not just in what you say, it is in how saying it transforms the way you exist in the world. Speaking your truth boldly sends a message to yourself and others that your life is yours to live authentically, without shrinking to accommodate expectations that are not your own. There will be moments when speaking your truth feels risky, when silence seems safer, and when the temptation to appease is strong. Those are precisely the moments that build the most confidence. Each choice to speak with honesty and clarity reinforces the belief that you are capable, worthy, and empowered. Even if your words are met with resistance, the act of expressing them strengthens your inner foundation and proves to yourself that your voice cannot be dismissed. So remind yourself every day, I choose to speak my truth boldly. Let it guide your words, your actions, and your presence. Let it remind you that confidence is not borrowed from others, but built from living authentically. When you speak with courage and integrity, you honor yourself, inspire others, and shape a life rooted in clarity, dignity, and unshakable self-belief. Speaking boldly is more than communication. It is a practice of freedom and a declaration of your worth. Every accomplishment, no matter how small, carries within it the power to transform your confidence and your perspective. Too often we wait for monumental achievements, for recognition that feels official, for milestones that the world deems worthy before we allow ourselves to celebrate. But the truth is, life is built on moments, tiny, quiet, almost invisible victories that quietly shape who we are. Each decision to try, each effort made, each small step forward is a victory, and recognizing it is the key to building lasting confidence. Celebrating small victories begins with attention. You must notice the ways you show up for yourself, the efforts you make that may go unseen by others, and the challenges you face simply by continuing. Perhaps you managed a difficult conversation, made progress on a personal goal, or resisted the temptation to give up when discouragement pressed. These are the moments that strengthen you. Each one is proof that you are capable, resilient, and committed to your own growth. Acknowledging these victories nurtures self-respect. When you take time to honor the small wins, you affirm that your actions matter and that your effort is enough. You do not need external validation to feel proud. Pride and confidence come from recognizing your own perseverance, your ability to rise again, and your willingness to continue even when the outcome is uncertain. Each celebration, no matter how modest, becomes fuel for the next challenge. Small victories also teach patience. Growth is rarely sudden. It unfolds quietly, in repetition, in persistence, and in consistency. When you focus only on the grand outcomes, you risk overlooking the progress that happens along the way. By celebrating each small step, you cultivate a mindset that honors progress over perfection. You train yourself to value the journey, to see the incremental improvements, and to trust that these small wins accumulate into profound transformation over time. Recognizing small victories also reshapes your relationship with failure. When you are accustomed to acknowledging even minor successes, setbacks no longer feel like total defeat. You learn that life is a balance of effort, learning, and adaptation, and that progress is not erased by a single misstep. Confidence grows because you understand that your worth is not defined by perfection, but by persistence, resilience, and the courage to keep moving forward. Moreover, celebrating small victories creates joy. Life often feels heavy, overwhelming, or rushed, and it is easy to overlook moments of success in the chaos. By pausing to recognize your achievements, you create space for gratitude, hope, and motivation. You remind yourself that you are capable, that you are growing, and that each day offers opportunities to rise, to try again, and to build a life that reflects your effort and your spirit. So tell yourself every day, I celebrate small victories. Let it remind you that every step forward matters. Let it build confidence when doubt creeps in. Let it give you strength when the road feels long. Every small win is a testament to your courage, resilience, and commitment to yourself. By acknowledging these moments, you are not just marking progress, you are cultivating pride, inner strength, and a lasting belief that you are capable of achieving more than you ever imagined.